Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me tonight again. I'm really excited about this journey that we're going to be walking through here on my bathroom remodeling course. So if you don't know me, my name is Steve. I've been a general contractor in the Pittsburgh area for 22 years now, 2022. So happy new year everyone. I hope your first day of work yesterday or today was okay and that you're getting motivated for getting your goals set this year. And I'm hoping one of those goals is to remodel that old bathroom that you've been meaning to get to for the last few years or decades for that matter. So tonight, primarily, we're going to be going over setting the tub and installing the drain assembly for a bathtub. So this course I'm developing is basically just a standard tub and shower with ceramic tile, but it's a basic bathroom size. So 5 foot by 8 foot. And we're going to have all the components that are, standard in a regular bathroom. But the big thing is that we're gutting it completely down to the studs and redoing everything. And I'm going to be showing you the patterns and the schedule that you would want to do on a daily basis in order to get this done in a good, timely fashion. And this has really all come from my experience. For the last 14 years, I've been basically dedicated to doing bathrooms. So I've really formulated a good pattern of how to go about doing this. I primarily work alone. So everything that I'm going to be teaching you, I'm hoping that you could probably do most of all of this stuff yourself. Obviously, a helping hand can certainly help out in many ways. But basically, it's this journey or this bathroom is basically my day-by-day schedule of getting it done. So let me get myself smaller here. I want to show you what we're going to get into here. So again, this is going to be part 2 or part 1 of day 2. So this remodeling course is going to be 7 days, so from start to finish, and this is really in real time basically how I accomplished a bathroom. So the video footage that I took, that my wife took I should say, basically I'm just editing all that down into chunks that make sense or that can the steps that you take to accomplish things. So we're on day 2, part 1. And let me just show you this course so you can see the curriculum of what I'm doing here. But hey, on the way in, please give me a like on this video. That really helps out the algorithm. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'm going to be doing a lot of live streams this month in January. My goal is to get this course complete by the end of January, and we have a lot of work to do. So we're only on day 2. There's 5 more days after this one. And basically, I'm trying to keep these live streams down to about an hour or so. And I want to be doing Q&A. So I want this to be interactive. If you have any questions, I'll pause the video and I'll go over certain points to it. And if you're already enrolled, then you should be able to be somewhat prepared and know exactly what we're getting into, and if you have specific questions. But any of these questions you give me is really going to help me out because it's going to be able to make the course better. And if I get common questions all the time, then I'm going to make a video on that, and I'm going to try to answer them the best that I can. So looking at this from a student perspective, right now I have 2 courses available. One is a custom glass enclosure. So if you're doing a walk-in shower and you're needing custom glass, you've probably gotten some quotes and realized how ridiculously expensive custom glass can be. And that's why I made a course on it, because you can measure, order, and install your own glass and probably save yourself thousands of dollars. And even if you did screw up on a single panel, you're going to have the flexibility to be able to, buy another panel and still be way under what another contractor could do it for. But I have a lot of great resources in there for you. It's only $60. I think the value that I have in there, you'll certainly save way more than that if you do this. And so custom glass is always one of those last things that people get sticker shocked by, and sometimes they just can't afford it or have to wait on it. So that's kind of why I created this course. So anyways, the tub and shower course, only selling it for $25. Here, let me get myself in the corner here. So I'm only selling it for $25 right now. So this is only because I don't have this full course put together, but I wanted to get people into the course. I wanted to make sure that everything is being, created in a clear manner. And any questions that you have about this, it's really going to help me out building this and making this better for everyone. So I don't know what happened to my face here. Here we go. Okay, so the tub and shower course. So it's going to basically go through everything from demo to installing the tub. That's what we're going to be going over tonight, is installing a tub. It's going to get into the tub and shower faucet, waterproofing, hanging and finishing drywall, towel setting, and epoxy grouting. So these are all main portions of the project. And my hope is, once you get past these first couple of days and actually, getting that tub set and installed, I really think the rest of the bathroom ends up being, kind of a fun part of of remodeling. So if you like doing construction projects, a bathroom is a very satisfying thing to do because, it's something that you use every single day, and I think it's well worth the investment of time into it, because you'll benefit a lot from it. So here's my curriculum right here. So we already went through day one, and I should say, if you go to my YouTube channel, let me just show you real quick. If you go to my YouTube channel, again, please subscribe. Really helps out getting more views on these videos. But if you go to my YouTube channel and you go down to playlist, so right here, there's a playlist, and you'll see that it says Bathroom Remodeling Online Course. So if you click in there, I'm going to have every single day, I'm basically going to be breaking it up into different parts for each day because, like I said, I want to be under an hour for these live streams. But yeah, I'll have it all on here. So, if you can't afford to buy the course, you're going to be able to find it here. The only thing is obviously there's going to be ads that you're going to be watching in between of all this stuff. So if you don't want to watch ads and you want to be more organized, and there's a lot of stuff you'll see in the course, there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to benefit inside the course. And that includes checklists and a lot of different links and helpful links. And most importantly, you're going to be able to comment and get a hold of me, because this is my passion project. This is something that, like I said, I've been doing bathrooms for 14 years, and, it's time for me to pass on my knowledge. I put my 10,000 hours in, just like I'm learning how to do all of this stuff on this computer. I'm learning from other experts on how to do this, and they have courses and things that I'm following. So I'm just doing the same thing in my own genre. So anyways, back to the course. So day one, I'm going to do a real quick recap here with a video. But as you can see how this is all nicely laid out in the course, basically going step by step through the whole process. So this is the full demo day. There's a little bit more than demo on first day, or at least what I like to accomplish. But watch those other videos. Go on my YouTube channel and you can watch that, or buy the course and then you can watch all these videos. But you can even tell here that I don't get into very lengthy videos. So I usually just get straight to the point of what's needed, and that's where I need your help. If you're unclear on some different parts of the project, I'll add another video in there to help everyone out. But I do like to just get straight to the point. I always hated when I'm doing mechanical work or even learning how to do this computer stuff. I don't want a long-winded answer and going over medial things. I really just want to get to the meat of the project, because I think if you're going to do a bathroom remodel, you're probably already mechanically inclined. You've probably already done other household projects. You're not going to just immediately start into a bathroom. So I feel that, I want to give you the credit that you understand what you're doing. And, really, I'm also hoping for tradesmen. I'm really hoping that new contractors, younger contractors getting into this, I look at this as being, if it was me 20 years ago, I would have loved to have something like this. I wouldn't have had to learn so many things the hard way. And I'm not saying that I know everything. I certainly don't. And I'm learning every single day. I'm getting corrected on things every day as I post more and more on social media. There's a lot of experts out there that are saying, hey, you can do this better by doing this. And I'm implementing that. So, you can learn from negative feedback as well. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And I tell you what, this last year, I really have learned a lot. It's tremendous. So day two, this is what we'll be getting into today. But let's just do a quick recap of basically what we did on the first day. So let me resize this. And this is just a quick run through, like a 2-minute video kind of going over what we did for it. And like I said, the first 2 days, are kind of the stressful days, I think, for most people. Day one is kind of fun. You actually are getting into it and you're tearing things apart. But this is also where the areas that you find there might be a lot of things that you don't know, or you might have to, you're uncovering a lot of probably bad things, probably wiring issues, some plumbing that might not look good, subfloor structural issues. So day one is really what uncovers things. And then if you're a contractor, that's where, the extras come in. That's that you usually know all of what might be in store for the rest of the project. You usually don't have, really too many extras towards the end with clients, unless they're adding things on, because all the extras are found at those first 2 days. So, here we go. So this is the first day. So removing the toilet. Obviously, some of these old toilets are really tough. You might need a grinder to remove them. We go over removing the vanity, and I go over a whole bunch of things about those valves. Basically, they're worthless. Always shut off the water before you do any demo, because these old valves most of the time are going to leak, and you definitely don't want to be causing more work for yourself. Get into removing the faucet and the drain assembly, and this is sometimes does not work. In this particular situation, I could not get this tub drain out. So, the next best thing is to get into that access panel and cut it out. But make sure on first day one that you have caps for your plumbing so you can get water back on. We go into the demoing of the tub surround. Now, this can vary depending on bathroom to bathroom. This one was actually really easy because it was just straight over drywall. People used to do that a lot, in the 70s and 80s. It's amazing that it's lasted as long as it did. But we go ahead and remove the tub. And then one important thing, if you don't have a window in the bathroom, you're going to want some light. So you're going to want to put a temporary light fixture in. And my suggestion on bathroom remodeling is always, not always, but for the most part, take everything down to the studs, especially if you have a home that's 50 or 60 years old. You want to be able to see all the electrical there. If your bathroom was remodeled before at some point, you really want to just check things out before you start putting thousands of dollars over top of it. And that's really important, because it's just, you get a leaky valve somewhere, or it's just, you'll find that it's going to be a lot easier to actually just install new drywall. It'll make the whole process a lot easier. And then we get into replacing the vent fan. I always try to get that vent fan in the first day, because I like to get my drywall ceiling up. And if you're a contractor, the main reason I like to do that is it makes the client feel more comfortable. And if you're doing this at home, your partner or whoever lives with you is going to be more relaxed seeing a ceiling up than just looking up into that attic and fearing bats or whatever. So, and then you get into removing the floor. So that is a big day. I'm not going to say that it's not. And, a lot of you are probably not going to be able to do that all in one day. Just because of the amount of effort it takes to do it. Now, like I said, I've been doing it for 20 years, or contracting, so I'm kind of conditioned, kind of to this physical abuse, I guess you could say. So there is something to that, as far as really struggling through and pushing through things. So day one really was just about demo. And don't feel bad if you didn't get to that point. This is really just a map. It's just a guidance on how to accomplish things efficiently and effectively. So you'll find that a lot of my videos, I'm pretty raw. I'm a real contractor. I'm really doing all of the work. So there is no real fudging of the information in any way. Everything that I put in here is really coming from experience. So, but yeah, thanks, Cole. Thanks for joining me. Standard glass shower door instruction. Yeah, I do plan on doing that at some point. I do have a Dreamline shower that I did install. Actually, I got 2 shower enclosures that I recently installed that I need to edit and get them out there. So I'll probably have them on YouTube, but I'll also add them to that custom glass enclosure course just to add a little bit more information to that. So, so anyways, let's just go into the day 2. Let's just get right to it, and then we can discuss. And if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments here, and I'll try to get them to you, or try to get to you on that. So as you can see here, I'll blank myself out for a second here. So as you can see, the way that Teachable, this is teachable.com, I should say, and I should actually tell you where the site is. So this is bathroomremodeling.teachable.com. So teachable.com is obviously a website builder, and this is what I decided to do this on, and I've been really, really pleased with it so far. I love the ability to just organize everything, and as you can see here on the left-hand side, it just goes step by step. And then when you're actually enrolled, there's these little circles that kind of fill in here as you complete the course. So say if day one, you only get to remove all the drywall and you wanted to find out, about the vent fan and you want to come back to it and you didn't finish that video, you can just come right back to it and it's going to start off where you were at. I know that's a really simple thing, but it's just kind of nice to know. And again, my hope is that you're buying this course for doing a bathroom remodel in the future. So, I want you to follow, I think it would really be a good idea to watch all the videos in the course. Now, my plan is to try to get this done by the end of January. But this planning ahead is really important, especially these days with all the shortages on all the materials. It's really important to plan ahead. And if you have some idea of what it takes to do all of this stuff, then you'll be able to make sure you have all the materials. And that's the one thing I have in this course is I'm going to have a checklist that's going to go through what you need for each day, or what I'm suggesting you should have. Just like day one, you want to have some of those shark bite caps for plumbing. You want to get the water back on your home. People don't like having their water off, or if anybody who you live with. So you want to have those things on hand. You don't want to be running to Home Depot or Lowe's every day. That just hogs up way too much time. So let's get into it. So this is just an overview, an intro to day 2. And let me get myself back on here. Okay. Transition is over. Okay. So I'm still new to all this technology, and so hopefully I don't mess up things too badly here, but here we go. Okay, so we're on day 2. So make sure you follow my guide. This is really helpful to keep things straight in your mind as far as what you need to get done. But day 2, main priority is getting your plumbing, getting your tub in, getting your faucet in. That is your main priority, because everything revolves around that as far as installing the rest of the drywall and everything else. So your main priority is the tub, and then your shower faucet, and then we can move on to drywall. So we'll get to it here. So you'll hear me saying that a lot in some of these videos about just staying focused, because it's really easy to fall into wondering, what is this, what is that, especially when it comes to electrical. Now, plumbing, on the other hand, if you have it demoed and there's a lot of really ugly looking stuff, that's definitely going to slow you down. There's no question about it. And I, as a contractor, I can see through an access panel behind the tub just to kind of get a reference. But a lot of times I have no idea what the plumbing looks like underneath that subfloor. So you can be surprised sometimes, and it's definitely going to add on time to your project. But the main thing is trying to stick to a plan on getting a certain amount of things done each day. Don't, like I even have a lot of times I have an urge to run to Home Depot because I need this part to finish this one part of the project. If you keep running to Home Depot, you're not going to get this done. It's going to take too long. So you have to resist those urges and keep pushing forward and getting the next part of the project done. So there's always a lot of time in bathrooms that you're going to have time to mess around with electrical or some of that plumbing. But you need to have the tub installed. You need to get your shower valve installed, and then your waterproofing, so you can actually start putting things together. If you never toweled before, it's going to take you a little bit of time to get used to doing that. But with tiling, there's time involved. So you're going to have a lot of, you got to wait for it to cure before you can go grouting. So there's a lot of ways you can stop at a certain point and then work on that electrical that might have been driving you nuts or whatever it is. So, but again, this is where demo day, that's where I get all my questions as a teacher. People send me pictures, and that's one great thing about this course. You're going to be able to go all the way down to the bottom of each course. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even put it on that one. But there's a comment section below, basically just emailing me and saying, hey, you can add your pictures, and I can answer some questions there. So, but again, just to refer, we got number one, we got subfloor and tub drain prep. So this is day 2. So this is what we're getting set into to set the tub. So tub drain prep. Now this is going to vary really wildly depending on how old your home is, where you're at, and the kind of plumbing practices people used. It's really, I mean, these days now when they're building homes, you can kind of have a good sense of how they're going to plumb things because you have good architects that have started to kind of formalize the industry. But back in the 50s, 60s, or even way earlier than that, it was just basically, Joe Schmo, the plumber, had his idea of how to run it. There was really no, they had obviously plumbing codes and stuff like that, but it was really up to each individual plumber to go about doing it. And you'd still have that to a certain extent today, but most things are getting standardized. You kind of know what you're going to get into. So, but when it comes to drains for the tub, it's really tough to tell. You can tell a little bit when you open up that access panel. Most of your tubs are going to have access panels to them. But that's really not going to tell you the whole story until you actually pull everything up. But so yeah, we've got subfloor and tub drain prep. And sometimes you don't even have to do anything to the subfloor. Sometimes the subfloor is totally fine. But in this instance, in this project, I needed to add a 3/4 inch layer to the bathroom area. And that was because it was an old cast iron, or this was actually a steel tub. But back in the day, they used to use 1/4 inch plywood throughout the home, and then they would add a 1/2 inch layer on top of that for some reason. So this area I needed to add plywood into. And basically I have a write-up underneath each one of these sections, and it just kind of goes over some things to kind of keep your head straight on what you're going to be doing next. For instance, you want to check for levelness at this point. You want to see what your bathroom is. And my advice is normally nothing has to be 100% perfect. There's always ways to overcome unlevelness or, something that's unsquare. So my rule of thumb, anything that's over 1/4 inch of pitch or out of plumb, I'll address it. If it's anything under 1/4 inch, just don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You can make it up. When you're setting the tile, you can add, it's 1/4 inch is not a big deal. Anything more than that, that's when you're going to want to try to address that. And there's many different ways to go about doing that. Floor leveler is probably one of the easiest ways to go. But you always have to make sure that, everything's sealed in the room and, you're able to pour that and not have it get in there everywhere. But I will have some stuff on floor leveler here soon. I don't have it in this particular situation because this bathroom, everything was within 1/4 inch, so it wasn't a big deal. Then number 2, we're going to be dry fitting the tub. We're going to get that ledger board set. Now, we'll get into the tub installation. Not all tubs are exactly the same. They don't always have the same recommendations on how to install them. So some have ledger boards, some don't. So it all depends on the manufacturer of what you're installing, and that's really what you want to refer to. You don't want to refer to me. You don't want to refer to any other contractor that's telling you that this is the way it has to be. It's the manufacturer who warrants the tub. They're the ones who dictate how things are done. So if you're required to have a ledger board, put it in. If you don't need it, then you don't need it. So it really depends on the manufacturer. And then we get into the drain assembly. This, when you're doing new stuff, this is kind of the nice things about this. Just like if you installed a new vanity, you're not going to crawl underneath the vanity and install the faucet. You're going to put the faucet on the sink before you set the sink. It's going to just make it much faster and easier. So that's the same thing that we're going to be doing with this tub, is we're going to be setting the drain assembly and then setting the tub into place. It makes it a lot easier. So we'll be showing that. And then fastening the tub. Fastening the tub is the same thing. Not every tub is going to be installed the same way. The manufacturer has their own specifications on how to go about it. And this tub that I'm going to be showing you, they want fender washers to adhere it to it. So again, I don't want to just say read the instructions, but in some ways, read the instructions, and then I can help give advice on, how, best to go about making sure that this is going to be a good installation to you. We're not going to get into this today. This will be part 2 of day 2, but the tub and shower faucet, obviously a really important part of the project. And again, I'm all about efficiency and getting things done. I'm going to show you basically the methods that I've been using over time, and then give you a lot of great pointers on some shower valves and things that will make it even easier than what I even displayed in here. And that's all being prepared. That's getting the right materials to make things quick and efficient for you. There always is an offset of cost between labor and what things cost. And if you can get a shower valve that already has PEX adapters on it, it's going to cost you a little bit more, but it's going to save you time. So everything's kind of like a labor cost savings. But I think if you're a DIYer and you're doing this for your own home, you're going to save so much money not hiring out a contractor, that some of these items are probably going to be worth your worth the money to spend. And then the final thing is obviously just to fill and test the entire project before you move on to the next day. So let me see who else is on here. Will the course include Schluter products, either shower or under the towel? Yes, I will be doing Schluter Ditra, a mat that will be on here. And as I get further into bathroomremodeling.teachable.com, we're going to have a whole bunch of different things. Just like my YouTube channel, I have a lot of Schluter installations on there already. But I'm just going to try to formalize this more in this site. So I'll have all those different products on here. Most likely what will happen is that I'll have a whole bunch of different courses on a whole bunch of different types of bathrooms. And I'm just going to bundle it all together if you wanted to buy them all. So then you can kind of piecemeal the different parts. Like not everyone's going to be doing 12 by 24 tile on the floor. You might want to do a mosaic, and so I'll have things on that. So I'll probably try to customize this and get this to fit what your actual project's going to be. So going on to the next step here, we're going to get into the subfloor and drain prep. So this is something that can take some time, and this is something that you try to be prepared for before the beginning of the day. Usually once you have everything demoed, you can kind of have a reference of like what you might need. But again, it's still going to be very difficult to tell until you start actually putting things together. So, don't feel bad if you have to go running out to Home Depot on this day. This is usually the day that it happens, because, you might need that one more fitting to make that plumbing drain work. So get into it and we'll keep discussing here. Now, when you have 1.5 inch copper, sorry, go all the way back here. Okay, so take a look at this. So this is a drum trap, and I highly recommend that you don't reuse any of this. You cut this off and then put a regular P-trap in. I'll probably repeat myself again because I don't remember exactly what I said in this particular thing. But yes, drum traps, get rid of them. Most, like this one, can't even be serviced. Normally they have like a little cap on the top that you can unthread and be able to clean it out or do whatever. But this particular one is just a completely solid welded thing. And, they're terrible. You can't, plumbers have a hard time snaking them, if they can even snake them. And they're usually slow draining. So this might be part of the reason that you're even remodeling your bathroom, is because your tub just doesn't seem to drain. And this would be definitely one of the reasons why that would happen. So get rid of this. And actually, most of the time, you're not going to be able to use the existing trap that you have in place. You usually want to have that trap replaced, because usually it does get built up inside of that, the U shape of the trap. And no matter, you can snake it and try to clean it out, but I'm in, when I go to look at jobs, I'm already planning on changing out that P-trap. I don't want to keep anything that's existing. I want to replace it and just put all new from, basically from the main piping to the tub. So, but in this scenario, yes, these drum traps, terrible, really slow draining. These things are notorious for really slow draining. and if it hasn't been used in a while, it's probably going to be clogged. So this is definitely going to be the better way to go. So for right now, we're just going to cut this off so we can get our plywood in, and it will determine where it is. But we're going to be using a fern coat to attach to this plumbing. So what I like to use is a torch blade. So this is a heavy metal blade. Really, it lasts really long. It says thick metal on it. I think that's
they are really
nice
great
feature
blades
to this.
They can go through cast iron very easily. I always have that for cutting stuff like this.
So then we're gonna take a little bit of this plywood out.
And this, you can see that was 1/4 inch material. It didn't really matter. I'm putting 3/4 inch plywood over top of it.
So this would be the idea. Probably gonna need.
Some of this prep work, I'll be showing you here. It's going to be easier to do at this point.
Okay, so in this tub area, I have 3/4 inch plywood down in the main bathroom, and they had it recessed down in here. So I'm going to be putting some new 3/4 inch over top of this. Plus, this is only like 1/4 inch thick, so it's not going to be really stable for a tub. So you're going to want to put some thicker metal on than that, or thicker plywood than that. But let's get rid of these blocking from the old tub.
And you can just use 3/4 inch OSB. There's no problem with using that.
Okay,
Save a little bit
so
of
that
money.
evens up with this. Now, when I've set my tub, I'm not going to have any issues getting this recessed in. So let's go ahead and dry fit the tub first, and then we'll mark where the plywood is for the tub drain. I'm going to mark where my drain is to give me reference to where my drain assembly will be coming over. But one of the great things about this tub is that the rough-in drain is above floor. So it's designed to have the plumbing connected above floor.
So that's a really key point to this tub. I do like this tub. It's an America cast. It's American Standard. I'm a big fan of American Standard. Most of their tubs have been really well constructed. They have got a really good warranty on them, and you know, they're always, you know, I'm pretty abusive to tubs when I'm installing tile and doing everything. So I really give it a test as far as whether you can actually clean the bottom of the tub and get it back to being new. You know, I definitely put it to the test during the demo, or not during the demo, but during the construction process. And these American Standard tubs have always held up really nicely. Excuse me. Excuse me. But this tub is above rough-in. So that meaning, here, let me go back to that image. So this is a picture of basically how the tub, you could see how this tailpiece sits above this plywood layer. So that's an important concept there. What this did was eliminate you from having to notch out your joist. And this is really helpful. In this situation, it honestly wouldn't even mattered whether it was a regular tub or an above rough-in type of tub, because they already had that joist notched out below it. This joist did land right exactly where this tub drain is. But if this was a newer home, or if this was a engineered truss that was right here at this location, this would be the only tub that you'd be able to actually install here. Because a regular tub, this tailpiece will come down below the floor level, below the 3/4 inch plywood. It usually sticks down that entire pipe size. So if you have a joist there, you're usually notching, you know, 1.5 inches below that. And you can't do that with trusses. You can't do that with engineered types of floor joist. Most of you are probably going to have older homes, so they're just going to be regular 2x8s or 2x10s, hopefully, or 2x10s. Because then you can have a little bit more flexibility to actually notch those joists. Rule of thumb there is typically, no, I mean, I'm not a structural engineer, but typically you can go 1/3 of the joist for notches. Now there's different areas that you can do that in. So typically going down 2 inches to notch for your drain is not a big deal. But if you already had a tub, things have probably already been notched out if there's a joist there. So in this scenario, this tub wasn't absolutely necessary to purchase. But I do like these because if you didn't know what you were getting into, this is a safe choice, because then all you have is the main connection for your drain to the main P-trap to be concerned about. So now just kind of explaining that. The one thing I don't like about this tub, and I'll probably say this again, since it is above floor rough-in, and you can see the space between my subfloor and the actual tub, that's almost like 9 inches or something. I can't remember what it was. Maybe that was 6 inches. It's pretty big. Whatever it is, it's pretty far off the ground. So your tub is actually, like a deep soaker size tub. So it's I think it's 17 inches for the tub rim, or the apron of the tub to the floor. But then the actual water level that you can get in the tub is just a standard tub. And I think it's only 10 inches of water. I think that's the majority of what standard tubs that are 14 inches tall. Like a lot of the tubs back, 70s, 80s, and before, most of them were only 15 inches tall to the top of the tub rim. And the inside of what you can actually get water in is usually only about 10 inches tall. So that's what this is, but it just looks a lot bigger when you're actually looking at the tub, because you're basically bringing that whole bottom of that tub up to make this a rough end. So, be careful. I mean, if you this is not a bad tub, this is a great tub, but just know that it's not going to be like a deep soaking type of tub. And a real adult, honestly, you really can't take a bath in this. It's just not deep enough. It's like the older tubs. So
Plumbing connected above floor.
This is another reason, if you pull everything out of the bathroom, makes this process a lot easier, setting and dry fitting this tub. If you're trying to keep walls up and you're trying to keep your existing drywall up, boy, it's a real pain in the neck. It really, really takes a lot of time to continuously pulling, trying to get that tub to fit in there between drywall that obviously is going to be narrower than the actual tub itself. So again, when you remove everything in the bathroom, it makes every part of the project a lot easier, and most likely it'll save you time. The money to take that out and finish new drywall, it shouldn't really be that big of a deal to you. You're talking maybe $200 to $300 at most, putting new drywall in, and a few hours of work of actually finishing it. So that to me is worth, I'll be spending more time getting this tub dry fitted in and out of here than it would take me to finish the actual drywall mud. So again, I recommend you just tear everything apart. I know it's scary sometimes to get to that level, but if you're going to spend all this money on a bathroom, it's good to know that, how everything looks underneath of it.
We're going to be putting this new plywood down. I just marked where my drain is. Now, the particular drain that I got is not going to need basically the area cut out for the drain assembly, or for the connection to the tub. This is above floor rough-in is what I got. So typically, if you had a normal tub, you want to come out 14 inches and cut a big square so that you had enough room for your drain. But in this instance, all I need to do is take out a section over here just to connect my plumbing to the new P trap. So I'm just going to take out, approximately 8 inches by 10 inches square to make access for that. Now, when you have 1.5 inch copper, it's nicer to use the 1.25 inch to 1.5 inch coupling. Okay, so it's just a nicer thing to use the 1.25 inch fitting on here. So we're just going to stick this on there because it's a little more difficult to do.
Now, I like using those type of fern coats for this. Now, this was a first floor bathroom, so there was access below. You might get I might get a little bit of guff from other plumbers about using this particular fitting, because the proper one, and I have a list in here below, is a no hub fitting. This would be probably meeting a lot of people's code in different areas, but it's basically copper to PVC. So this has that band around it, as you can see. And from what I understand, this is going to make a better connection. So if you know you have copper, you can go into that description and order the right fitting. But for all intents and purposes, these things have always been great. It's been, I've never had an issue with them. So, but it really, you trying to follow plumbing code in your area, it is important. But these do work great, and I would just recommend getting the 1 1/4 inch because that fits around that copper nicer and tighter. After the tub's installed, but then we'll connect the P-trap after we get the drain assembly in. So yeah, we're just installing that now, and then I'll basically be attaching it. This part can be connected from our access panel here, but I just wanted to prep this so it's a little bit easier to put together. So one of the things that really annoys me when I see knockouts on joists is that most plumbers just kind of randomly just hack out part of the joist to make the plumbing work. And most of the time that's really not acceptable. So one of the solutions is to get a tub that has a rough-in drain assembly that's above the surface of the floor. So you can get a drain assembly that would not require this type of knockout. So for instance, right now, this is 8 inches. This joist is sitting directly underneath where the tub drain has to sit to have that extender piece come over to the tub. And this is what normally you end up seeing is a knockout in the joist for that tub drain connection. So what I'm installing is a tub drain that is above the subfloor so that you don't have to do anything like this. It's usually a safer bet to get a tub that has a rough in above floor because you don't really know what you're really getting into until you take the old tub out. So I primarily like using the above floor tubs, and so it eliminates this type of issue. So we got our fern. And again, I just want to reiterate on that is that I don't always use the above rough in. This is only for situations where I just either didn't do my homework to find out what was needed or I was unsure of. It's a safe bet. Just put it that way. It's a safe bet to get a above rough in tub. But if it's your own home, you should be able to evaluate this, see where your joists are through that access panel. Most likely you're not going to need that. And again, this notch does irritate me. I'm not going to lie. It's irritating that the joist is even there in the first place because whoever built this home knew the tub was going to be there and they put the joist directly underneath where the tub needed to be. But notching something else out like that, it's not really that big of a deal. So I just wanted to reiterate that, and I want to make sure that when people were watching that, and I do have some stuff down here below kind of highlighting that as well. Post set, and now we're just going to put our plywood down, nail it in, and set the tub. I just marked my floor joists. Simac, yes, I do have access below to a certain extent. There's a lot of ductwork under there, but really all I needed was that access panel behind the tub. So there I'm just putting down the subfloor. Pretty simple. I like using a nail gun, obviously that's the fastest way to go, and just using 8-penny nails, so like 2 3/8 inch nails. But you can use 2-inch screws, that's fine too. So, but I wanted to go over basic underneath of here about different piping. So a lot of the times, before, well, really, I'm trying to think of when really ABS and PVC became really prevalent. So I'm guessing it was the mid 80s. I'll have to actually look that up. I'll be interested to see. But majority of the time, anything built in the 70s and earlier would have a different type of plumbing than PVC. Typically, they had copper. Copper was used for a very long time. And unfortunately, in the 80s, they were using copper that was really thin. And it, you have to be careful about, you want to look at that copper because sometimes it's really corroded and it can be very thin and very close to actually failing. So you want to inspect all of the copper that you have. But primarily, I have basically a write-up kind of explaining what I just said, and then going over the no-hub fittings and adapting to the type of piping that you're doing. But there are some piping that if you see, I do not recommend you even attaching to, and it's just start all over again, unfortunately. And you should be able to kind of tell this before you get started. You should be able to see through that access panel of what kind of plumbing. But this is the stuff that I really don't like, and that is galvanized piping. Cast iron is okay if it's in decent condition, and that's really sometimes tough to tell. So you can even see here, this is a shower drain. This was an old lead pan. I mean, I think this home was actually built in the 30s, but they used galvanized piping. So anytime you see galvanized in these threaded fittings, that is, you just don't want to attach to that. It probably doesn't have much longer before it does fail. You want to cut this all out. And in this particular situation with this shower, you could see that they already had a Fernco that they kind of put around this. So I'm guessing that was some kind of repair at some point. But this older home had brass water lines and then these galvanized piping. So all of this I recommend replacing, because that is something that is going to fail. It's just a matter of time. So, and galvanized was primarily used before the 60s. So you usually don't see too much of that unless you have a really old home. But this is definitely something that you're going to want to replumb basically everything in that bathroom to a certain extent. You can still reuse the cast iron, but I just want to mention about the cast iron is that what I recommend is to attach to, the good vertical surface or just where it goes into the hub. So as you can see right here, maybe you can't see that, but it's basically a 4-inch hub that I have that would be for the toilet, and I connect everything to that toilet elbow or basically going through that 4-inch. So in this instance, like this whole particular situation here, I'm basically cutting this all the way back to that hub and installing a Fernco from there and replacing everything. Cast iron is usually okay, but if the home has been sitting for a very long time unused, that's where you end up seeing the issues. And I say this because I used to be a contract. I still do. I haven't found anything in a long time because the market doesn't make any sense to me right now. But, when I was flipping homes, that was one of the things that I wanted to know. How long has this house been sitting here and not being used? And if it hasn't been used for a year, then I get concerned about the plumbing, because if it's cast iron and it's been sitting for a long time, it gets really corroded. And, basically it ends up clogging very easily. Not saying that it has to be replaced, but that's usually when you have the problems, is when the plumbing is not being used for a very long time. That's when you get a lot of, the corrosion of that cast iron. But you probably have some indications of whether your cast iron is good from in your basement. You'd be able to, if you had to have a lot of stuff replaced, or the homeowner before had to have sections of it replaced in the basement, then you probably, it's likely that you're going to have to replace a lot of the stuff in your bathroom. Not always, but if I see a new clean out or something in the basement, now that could just be the purposes of just cleaning it out because there was no access for a plumber to snake it out. But look at the condition that you can see down in the basement before you even get started, so you kind of have a general idea what you might be getting into. But yeah, and then you'll see ABS. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the black piping. I think that was pretty common from the 80s and up. I still see a lot of that around here. I just see a lot of ugly. Like this bathroom, I ended up replacing all of this plumbing as well, honestly. Not all the way down to the basement, but the whole configuration was pretty ugly. But typically, ABS and PVC, really, most likely you're not going to have to necessarily change it out. Just adapt a new P-trap on here. So this is the PVC. This is pretty much what everybody's using now. That's all I use now. I mean, I liked ABS. I do like ABS. It's just all the fittings cost more money than PVC, and it's not as readily available for every type of fitting. I can go to Lowe's and I know I can get every type of PVC fitting out there. So this is basically the stuff that's that you're going to be basically adapting to is PVC. And then when it comes to installing traps, I am a believer in just getting the solvent weld trap, which is basically a glued in trap, completely glued in. With access, you can get a trap that that has the threaded nut on it, but honestly, I don't see any reason that you would have to actually take that apart for any reason. You can snake through the overflow of your tub drain if needed be, or a lot of plumbers can just go straight through, your tub. But I mean, hopefully you don't have those type of issues in the future where you have to unclog something like that. But typically there's no real reason to remove the entire trap and service it. You can usually go through the overflow and straight down and snake everything else. So the solvent weld, I think, is the better way to go. And if you don't have access to your tub, you're definitely going to want to have it solvent. You don't want to have anything that has a locking nut or anything on it. You want it to be completely glued for that matter. So, but yeah, one site that I did want to mention that I do recommend going to, where did I have that? So is the Supply House. I don't know where everybody is from, but supplyhouse.com. I do order a lot of my stuff on here. They have all, every type of fitting out there. And a lot of my links are going to be to that. I do have some stuff to Amazon just for affiliate income. But when it comes to plumbing parts, most of my recommendations are going to be from this site, but it'll give you a good description of what it is. So, but that'll all be in the links below here to help you out. And what else did I have here? Oh, a couple things. These are things that you just want to have on hand on that first day. Is like an inch and like I get both of them because just in case I don't have the room. But this is a spigoted adapter for the drain assembly, so this will slide into the hub of the P-trap. So if I don't have a lot of height between the bottom of the tub and my P-trap, this is probably what I would go with. But other than that, just a standard female. Oh, that's the same one, huh? I meant to you have to change that link on there. Yeah, female adapter. Yep, I got the wrong one on there. There's a female one that you can actually put on there, so I'll adjust that. 45 street elbows. You might need this to refinangle that P-trap, bring it over further to wherever you need it. That's always nice to have, along with 22.5 degree street elbows. This little deal here can really make a big difference on getting that P-trap to where you need it. So these are just, simple fittings, not very much money. I mean, I guess the 22.5 degree one's a little bit expensive, $5. But it sure beats having to run out during the day and go and getting the fittings. So let me look at a couple comments here. You have access underneath, yes. Oh, 60s for ABS and 50 PFs. 1950 PVC? Really that long ago? I barely ever see PVC. I see the ABS in homes in the 60s, but 50s, I don't know. I'm in Pittsburgh. We have a pretty old town here. I don't know if I've really seen PVC in the 1950 homes, but you might be right. You might be absolutely correct there. And then I also have in the bottom here just some helpful other links here, like the heavy metal blade. This is the blades that I use for cutting cast iron or brass for that matter. So these things are awesome for cutting those, and they last a really long time. So that's it for subfloor and tub drain prep. Again, this is a very difficult part of the project. This one is really just simulating my particular situation on this bathroom. So this is definitely going to be tough to show variation on. When I do some future tub installs, I'll probably add some of those things on there, but every situation is going to be a little bit different. But that's where I'm hoping that, if you leave some comments below here. Why don't I have that on there? I guess I didn't have it on there. Anyways, they'll go up to the drywall hanging one. No, I don't have that on there either. I'm sorry. Well, there's a comment section. I do have a comment section somewhere here. Yeah, right here. So I need to add that on to those other pages. But you can always leave a comment here. I'm hoping this will turn into like a forum that where people will showcase their own project, and then that will give more information to each part of the project. So I'll definitely adjust that for the rest of them. But that's, you know, this subfloor and drain prep, this is a tough one to get every type of scenario in here for your own project. So Dominic, you got a home just like this one? Okay, well that's good, man. You'll be able to see what's encountered in this whole situation. It's you know, I mean, this wasn't too bad. I think this was built in you know, I have to actually look up the house again. I always look that up before I go look at the job. I go on the county website and see what the year the home was built, just so I can have a reference of knowing what I might be getting into. You know, the sad thing is too is that I find that if the home was built in the 80s by some of these builders that were building a lot of them, whatever, I don't really care. Ryan Home, you know, Ryan Home or Miranda around here in Pittsburgh, when those 80s homes, I know that it's going to be a disaster when it comes to plumbing. And that's what this home was right here. This plumbing mess here, the whole thing, like all this copper for the water supplies had to be replaced on this project because they were all thin walled copper, the type M copper. And there was pinhole leaks and there was a lot of problems with it. So everything about it was just ugly. So, you know, just because you buy a home built in the 80s doesn't mean that you're going to get nearly the amount of time that some of these older homes have had, because they just started to use some really cheap products that didn't last a long time. So, all right, so we'll get into the actual drain assembly portion of this. And again, this makes it easy for installation if you do it on the outside of the when the tub is standing up, and you can really get into everything and attaching that tub drain. Especially if you work alone, it's really tough to set a drain assembly on a tub that's already put in place. So at least, I mean, at the very least, getting your tailpiece on your tub would be the way to go. But what you'll see I'll reference here is to do the whole thing and then set it in place. So I always like to set everything before I set the tub. So this tailpiece that connects to the tub has a rubber gasket that goes on and then goes to the tub. Pretty simple. But what I like to use rather than a traditional plumber's putty is just using a high quality silicone, water clear silicone sealant. Now you have to make sure the manufacturer of the tub that they allow that to be used, but American Standard does allow 100% silicone to be used. I find it to be, I mean, it really keeps things leak free. So, I mean, plumber's putty, some of it can kind of rub out and smear out of an edge, and then you have a leak. So I think you're just, it's a little bit more foolproof with silicone. Now, I do get a lot of pushback from plumbers about not using plumber's putty. But again, make sure that the manufacturer allows you to use silicone. I haven't really seen one yet. And honestly, some of these newer acrylic tubs, they're actually saying no plumber's putty. You need to use silicone, or you need to use a polyurethane sealant. I just recently installed a Delta tub. That was about a year and a half ago. And it required a polyurethane sealant. They didn't even allow you to use silicone, and they didn't want you to use putty. They wanted you to use the new hybrid type of sealant. So I think as time goes on, some of these polyurethane sealants and stuff are going to be, you know, this is going to be dated. Honestly, I think silicone has been working great, and I know a lot of plumbers that use that as well, but I think they're going to come out with even better sealants that are going to be even better for this type of thing. And I'm starting to see that and really the Delta tub that I installed was pretty cheaply constructed. So I think it, you know, there was just a lot of movement in it, and basically the thin construction of it required something more than just plumber's putty, or, you know, I don't really understand why silicone wouldn't have worked, but that's not what they were recommending. So the first thing I want to do is get some silicone on the drain hub of the hole. Okay, so just put a real generous amount. We're going to wipe off the excess, but I advise just putting a generous amount of this all the way around the inside.
Same here. Just put a bead all the way around the inside of this. There's a hard chunk here. Okay, so got plenty of that. Stick this in. And you want to see this kind of ooze out all the way around. So this rigid tool actually snapped off one of the pieces, but it's made for a tub drain. So this just allows you to put it in the crosshairs and twist this. And then on the back side of the tub, put some silicone right on top of the bottom of the tub. And then we'll put our rubber gasket. And then this is just for extra insurance. This might be redundant for it because it is a rubber gasket. But I just like to have this on all corners of this. And then you can use this on the inside.
And I'll agree. I mean, it's a little excessive. I get it. Plumbers are like, what the heck are you doing so much silicone for? But I don't know. I don't like leaks, and this just worked for me pretty well.
So
So
just thread this on. You don't want to over tighten it because it'll end up pushing that rubber gasket out. So it's already kind of doing that here. You want to pay attention to this rubber gasket and make sure when you put too much pressure on this, it pushes the rubber gasket out of the.
it does, and that's a real pain in the neck. So
Keep this as straight as possible
again, doing this
with your alignment
with the tub
here.
standing up, and
You're
being
gonna have
able
a little
to
bit of
see
time
everything.
with the silicone to actually adjust it. So then you can just wipe off that excess silicone here. You just want to take a rag and just remove the excess silicone.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt anything. It's just like putting a sink
If you
drain
get it
in.
right when you install it, it'll calm off. Put our drain assembly together. So you basically want to just, for the drain, the overflow, I would just shoot for the middle. You want to have a little bit of adjustment because in case you wanted to take it apart or something. So I would just cut it right about mid-length here. And then this little tool, rigid tool, is nice because it does 1.25 and 1.5 inches.
That tubular cutter is really nice. Makes nice, good cuts.
Now this is a pretty thick pipe, so that's why it's a little bit harder.
Doing this all when the tub is already installed is such a pain, so this really makes it a lot more fun to install. Hey, 412 ATV, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So your locking
I'm
nut
guessing you're from Pittsburgh,
and your slip
412.
ring. Make sure that the slip ring you have the tapered edge facing towards your fitting. And then same with this top piece. So you put your slip nut on there and then just make sure that rubber gasket has the beveled edge toward your fitting, because that's what actually gives you the watertight seal. Okay. Okay. Let me take this off here. Okay, so then this gasket is beveled. So you can see how it's real thin at the bottom and real thick at the top. So you want to have this thinner part at the bottom of your drain. So what I also like to do here is, again, silicone is my friend. I'm going to just put a little bit of silicone on this fitting, and I'm going to put a nice bead on here. Honestly, the overflow is just as important as the main drain. If you have kids that fill up the drain, if it overflows, you really need to be able to have that to properly drain and not leak off of this.
I've had problems with that in the past. That's really
Once
painful.
Again, maybe just even do a little bit more here.
Yeah, the client didn't even really fill the tub up until 6 months later or something like that, and having a leak. So I've learned it the hard way, like I said.
And all that silicone kind of holds that in place almost. So then you can tighten your other nut here.
you do things like this after you learn the hard way. You know, when you get a call back, it wastes your time. You know, as a contractor, time is money. And when you have to go back and fix the things that you screwed up, this is where you end up taking these
So I'm just
extra
going to put a little bit of silicone
steps to make sure it doesn't happen
on my
again.
rubber gasket.
Because it stresses you out, stresses the client out. Again,
As well.
this whole channel is basically referencing kind of the experience that I've had with things and the way to go about it. I did like this overflow. This was a nice system. This was an American Standard drain assembly. We'll go through that below. I have in my link. But yeah, it was kind of a nice overflow. A little big.
Notorious for leaking too, so I always put a little bit of silicone on this as well.
You could put some pipe dope on that instead, but I have.
You can also use Teflon tape, but silicone is just going to make sure it stays well. So this allows you to just hold that really tight. And then these things just have to be hand tightened. And I'll just get the rest of the silicone off of the back of this. So that should be well sealed now. And then pretty much after I set my tub, I'll be able to pretty much test it.
I'll let you know, it was like 100 degrees in that bathroom. So that's why I'm like profusely sweating the entire time. Every single video in this bathroom, I was profusely sweating. And I had the drywall ceiling up at this point, but still, it was like 100 degrees in July when we were doing this. So, but yeah, so in this description below here, I have my recommendations for tubs. The ones that I've, things change. Honestly, 15 years ago, I would have had nothing but Kohler on here. I would have had a Kohler tub all day long. And unfortunately, that's not my recommendation anymore because I've just seen so many cheap constructed Kohler tubs, and I've heard, I get a lot of feedback from the public because I'm putting myself out there, and I get a lot of feedback from other people that said, hey, yeah, I have that same issue with the Kohler tub. I just put it in and it's leaking on the back side of the tub because of the poor construction of it. So I've been I'm not trying to bash any manufacturer, but the Kohler tubs I've been very, very disappointed with in the last few years. But to go to my references of what I really still think are great tubs is Jacuzzi. So Jacuzzi doesn't always just make the jetted tubs. They make soaker tubs as well. This is one of my favorite ones, this Jacuzzi Lena. And this is a deep soaker tub, but you still have the 30-inch. So I know a lot of bathrooms, like in this particular situation, this is a 5x8 bathroom, and we had I believe it was a 30-inch vanity. I'll have to go look at that again, actually. It's because, you need to have room between your toilet and your tub. So if you have a 30-inch tub now, most likely that's what you're going to have to stay with unless you want to move the toilet over. Because a lot of these bigger tubs are 32 inches wide, and you just don't have the room for it because your toilet should be 15 inches away from the edge of the tub to have elbow room and work efficiently, or meet code, I guess I could say too. So, sticking with a 30-inch wide tub in these smaller bathrooms is pretty important, and they have a nice deep soaker at 30 inches. And I don't think the price is too bad. $800, yeah, it is a lot, but these are acrylic, really easy. So this would probably be one of my number one choices right here as of right now. Very well constructed. Very, very happy with it. And then the next would be, this is just your standard tub. So this is American Standard Princeton tub. So this is going to be your normal, like if you had a regular steel tub or something that was 15 inches tall, that's what this is going to be. But the AmeriCast, that's what this tub is as well. That's what this product's made out of. I don't know what it is. It's some kind of composite material, but very easy to clean, very durable. And like I said, I really abuse these things when I'm installing them. But another American Standard tub I've been pretty happy with is this Studio tub. This is more of a fiberglass type of tub, but still thick construction. It's a little bit, I don't know what you would say. It has a grippy material at the bottom, so if you were really concerned about slippiness of a tub, this one is pretty good. Still, it's acrylic, very easy to clean. And what's also pretty cool is that not only does, so again, I go to build.com to buy these things. So yeah, this one's 32. You got to be careful at the size. If you only have a 30-inch tub, you want to get a 30-inch wide tub. You don't want to be expanding your footprint and then having a problem with your toilet. But what I did like about one of these studio tubs was this tiled apron. So you can put a knee wall or a wall and then tile the front of this. So it's kind of like a drop-in tub per se, but still has the actual top lip. I thought it was pretty cool. I installed one a few years ago, or last year, I should say, and I thought it turned out pretty good. So that's kind of a neat, fun, aesthetic design that you might like. And then we got a Villager quart. This is probably the only cooler one I would advise these days, and that's going to be cast iron. So cast iron, obviously, they've lasted for 100 years now. I'm sure 1920 homes that had cast iron tubs are still in good condition. So this is the rock solid deal. And what always impresses me is that the price is actually so much lower than some of these acrylics, which I think is funny. But the construction, obviously cast iron, not going to go anywhere. Very, very strong. So you can always go with the standard deal. But this guy here, this is the above floor rough-in. This is what we installed in this particular situation. What else I was going to show you? So drain assemblies. So the one that I installed was, where is that at? I thought I just put that link in there. I guess I didn't. So this is the drain assembly that I just installed in that particular bathroom. So, when you're ordering tubs, they usually give you recommendations of the drain assembly, but just know that a lot of drain assemblies can be specific for the particular tub. So you have to pay attention to what's required there. For instance, no, that's the above one. This one right here, this American cast tub, this one actually has this overflow already integrated and done. So all you have is a drain assembly. We usually have a picture of that. They don't even have it. Well, anyways, pay attention to some of these Americast ones. They just have the drain receptacle that you have to install, not the actual. There it is. So it comes with this little drain piece right here because the integral backflow is already integrated into it. So the overflow is already done. You don't even have to touch anything with that. So again, you gotta pay attention to the type of drain assembly. I can't really, if you ask me a question about it, I can probably help you out, but you're gonna want to probably contact the manufacturer to make sure. But for standard tubs, there's nothing wrong with just going with a standard ever-built deal, with the nuts on it, the locking nuts on it. I would still personally go with the lever type. I'm not a real big fan of the push-up drains. I have nothing but had problems with them unless they're decently constructed. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to, I didn't pull one up of those, but the push-up drain, push in tub drain. Yeah, so these kind that have these little pop-up deals, these always break. And I just know that from having in rentals and stuff like that. They're always missing. They're always taken out. If you wanted to get something that didn't have like a real overflow flip lever, getting one of these threaded ones in are better. These things will last. But these little push-in guys, I haven't seen one that hasn't been broken. So I would probably stay away from that. Another type of drain assembly that I'm really a big fan of are these cable-driven ones. This makes it's kind of foolproof. You don't have to be concerned about your flip lever not working properly because it already has a cable already attached. Makes it kind of nice. The only big thing about this is that this is a pretty bulky system here. So depending on your framing considerations, this takes out a little bit more. So if you had a floor joist like I just had in this bathroom, I'd probably stay away from this because this is going to take out a little bit more room. than the other ones. So, but cable driven assemblies are really nice. And then if you don't have access, and I would say probably arguably most plumbers are going to think this is the best, and it probably is the best because it's all glued in. So this is, you know, actual Schedule 40 PVC with a regular T. So this is probably your golden standard. This is something that, you know, would probably never have an issue, and be pretty durable. So, but this is, I would say, is a little bit more advanced. It takes a little bit more time or effort to put in, and obviously if you screw up your glue end, you know, if you screw up your gluing everything together, then you have to buy a new assembly altogether. But this is still a really great option, and if, like I said, if you don't have access to the actual drain, this is probably going to be the best bet that will allow you to meet code. So what else we got here? So I just have helpful tips down here. The rigid tubular cutter, like I said, this allows you to cut that piping all nice and straight. So, yeah. So the next series that we're going to get into is actually installing the tub. So we'll get into this probably tomorrow, along with the tub and shower faucet installation, because like I said, I want to kind of keep these things under an hour or to an hour. But again, thanks for everyone for joining me tonight. And again, if you want to go to and get pre-enrolled on this, because the price is going to go up. I'm not trying to be a sales pitch about it, but I am going to be charging more for this course once I get this fully developed. But right now I have these 2 days, and my hope is by the end of the week I'll have day 3 done, and you know, and go through that project, you know, day by day. So, but I'm really hoping that a lot of this you'll find that will be helpful to you. And yeah, so Collab, you said, do you recommend acrylic shower pans? Yeah, I mean if that's I'm a tile guy, so I personally like installing tile. I think it looks a lot nicer. But I know that, you know, some of these shower systems and stuff like that, I mean, an acrylic pan is definitely a more affordable option and a little bit easier to install. But if you go to build.com, they have a lot of great shower receptacles and everything. And yeah, it's been a long time since I've installed one, honestly. But yeah, they're a go-to. They would definitely reduce the cost to building a walk-in shower for sure, and you still have the nice tile and everything. Because I mean, even using a Schluter pan and everything, and with the tile, you know, you're definitely probably, you know, double the cost, or at least $200 to $300 more. You can get a decent shower pan for, you know, $400, $500, depends on what size you're doing. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this up tonight. But again, go to teachable.com, and hey, give me a like on this video. And thanks so much for joining me tonight. Hopefully I'll be hopefully tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I'll have everything prepared for the next portion of the course. Thanks a lot, guys.